show. Give me 1 second to see if I can fix this screen. So I don't know if that really worked, but whatever. Benjay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. How is everybody doing on this fine Sunday morning? I feel like my fucking computer's still stuck in night mode. So before we get started, anything else, obviously going to start off with a little bit of music so I can fix this problem and maybe I can actually see myself. That's not bright red. Kind of fucked up my lighting. Yeah, it really did. You didn't see the strobe or nothing. God damn it. It must be a Sunday. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's get ready for the first song. About 3 minutes, 44 seconds. And I shall see what I can do.
We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. Americans want this kind of country. Americans want this kind of world. And we stand
There we go.
to protect us. So help us God.
Say bye to America, raise high, stay quiet, stay eyes in your area. Hey, say bye to America. No, we won't bow, we say fuck you. No, we won't bow, we say fuck you. All they want's power, but we won't let them win. The land of the free, the home of the brave. We just declared our independence, now we're openly slaves. All these corporations tell us how we're supposed to behave. They just smile in our face while they're digging our graves. You know the evil is intricate, everybody's missing it. Fuck the citizens, let's give the jobs to all the immigrants. Not the legal ones, the criminals who in to twist this shit. Speak against it, then you're racist and a hypocrite. Demonic fucks in the government and the industry, pulling strings, all of us hypnotized by the symphony. Fucking up our future and hiding all of our history. Separating families and sending kids to the infantry. Control the people with biological weapons. Profit off a prescription, incentivize and depression. They're burning down cities with lasers straight from the heavens. Population control is in full effect for you peasants. It's a bad dream. Go and get your vaccines. Blood clots filling up your veins, now you can't breathe. COVID's just a test run, what's the plan B? It sounded like a genocide if you ask me. The lies surfacing now and they're all appalling. Just open up your eyes, I swear the truth will make you nauseous. They'll stage a suicide and blow your brains out for talking. But I'ma speak truth until my coffin. The people are exhausted. Say bye to America. Praise lies, stay quiet, oh the barrier. Hate crimes, AIs in your area. Hey, say bye to America. No, we won't bow, we say fuck you. No, we won't bow, we say fuck you. All they want's power, but we won't let them win. They're printing dollars every day, we can't avoid it now. Inflation stealing all your wealth, you can't afford a house. We trade our life for this money and they just tore it down. Then lay us off for cheap labor at the border. Wow. The true agenda's just divide and control. It ain't no wonder why they want us stuck inside of our homes. They need us deprived and alone, despising our own, so they can push another narrative like climate control. It's a chess move, just so they can tell us how to live. Go buy electric cars so we can shut down the grid. You've hit your monthly limit for steaks allowed in the fridge. So feed this fake meat from Bill Gates to your kid. Shit is more than deceitful, it's pure demonic and evil. Adrenochrome in the blood, they don't look at us like we're equals. Euthanasia with needles, policies proven lethal. Corner the food supply so there's nothing healthy to feed you. Hope you like eating beetles, you peasants, that's what you got now. Cooking
Grubs, not beetles.
Here comes another lockdown. Don't leave your house unless your last name is Rothschild. This the world that we living in is hostile. Say bye to America. Praise lies, stay quiet, oh the barrier. Hate crimes, AIs in your area. Hey,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Hope y'all enjoyed that opening scene. Got a few interviews today, street interviews. Actually, more like one street interview because I haven't done one in a while. And then we got some news clips. Got a lot of news clips. And I realize kids do stupid shit. And they get arrested for stupid shit. But what happens when they're behind bars and then the prison guards are the issue? We'll get into that near the second half of this show. But before we do that, obviously we're going to do a street interview with James Klug, and we're wanting to see what they think about Donald Trump winning the 2024 presidential election. And so do I. I want to see why.
Democratic Party is out of step with the
You're
working
out of
people,
step.
and that's a problem.
How are we feeling after the election?
You know we're feeling good.
Oh yes,
Oh, yes.
100%.
100%.
Fantastic. I'm extremely excited.
Been praying and hoping, and our prayers were answered.
Heck yeah. It's
yeah.
about time, right?
That dude sounds familiar.
Of Trump? We're back.
So, we're back. We're back in business. We're going to take America back.
How do you guys feel about the results?
Oh boy. I love him.
You love them?
Yeah.
I'm not happy, but I wasn't happy with either candidate.
No, thanks.
Not happy?
You guys, not happy?
I'm happy.
Huge thumbs down.
Yeah, I feel pretty bad.
Well, we haven't cared what UK thought
Lost
since
some hope, like, set us
1775.
back a little bit to me.
Hope and change took a back seat.
That's right.
Okay, so we got a Huntington Beach local not pleased with the election results. Were you passionate about Kamala Harris, or how were you feeling about that?
I wasn't super passionate about her, but I didn't like the alternative at all.
Did you think that Kamala was going to take it?
I was hopeful.
You were hopeful.
I thought that Biden should have checked out a little earlier.
I don't think that would have helped.
Better. And I mean, maybe
Like, how
we
much
would've
earlier?
even had a better candidate.
And I'm a Democrat.
Okay, wait, I love this so much. Hold on. Let's slow down here.
We get together.
Oh, that's sweet.
We
Go
can
ahead.
agree to disagree on
Okay.
things. And
Okay, I really like seeing this because you know what? I'll be totally honest with you. You don't actually see this very often. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat. You guys are friends, having a good time.
absolutely,
Okay.
been friends for years.
We'll go one at a time.
That's strange.
It's been over a week since the election. What are our thoughts about the results?
I approve.
You approve?
I think, yeah, I approve.
Well, you know you do.
Okay, approve. And are we gonna get a maybe slight approve? Where are we at?
I'm scared,
Okay.
but I'm hopeful. I know this is like, I know Democrats wouldn't be with me on this, but I'm only hopeful because I think both sides would agree that we need systemic change.
How are we feeling? What are our thoughts?
Oh, Jeff
It's where
Dunham.
you are that counts.
Yeah, so
You're in Huntington Beach, a more conservative. You know, it's a bunch of pickup trucks around here.
that's true. But here, let me explain.
I had a
Huntington Beach
pickup
here.
truck
The pier
twice.
is perfect. It's like maybe a 50-50 because yes, the city, a lot more conservative. This area, it's a destination location, so you get all sorts of people. So you'd be pretty shocked how many mixed views I get.
So, what percentage are you at right now?
Here right now,
Yeah.
Maybe 60-40, Trump 60. You voted for Kamala Harris?
I did.
Do you have
Oh,
any friends that voted for Trump or no?
no.
I believe I did.
You believe you did?
Are you still friends with them?
And how you doing? Are you are you chatting with them? Are you guys open-minded and having conversations? Are you shutting them out because we're not happy about them voting for T-Dog? What are we thinking?
The first time around, I felt that way. I felt a lot of negativity toward him, but this time.
Interesting.
This time I didn't because I felt like there were more differences. There were more reasons why people voted for Trump
Yeah.
as opposed to the
Identity.
hate field and things that I thought I voted against. But this time around, it was more, I think, about the economy. I think people felt like they would have a better chance with Trump.
Did you have a lot of friends and family that voted for Donald Trump in Nevada, in Vegas?
Yes.
Right on.
All of our families.
Everybody I know voted for him.
It was interesting, though, the data of the voters. It was interesting because she didn't quite win the minorities
Right.
that Biden quite did. It was interesting,
This dude
especially
sounds
when
familiar.
it came to Hispanics.
For sure.
Hispanic males especially, it was really interesting. I think it was like the projections, I think, from Hispanics, it was down by like 7 or 8%,
Yeah.
especially Hispanic males, blacks too, you know.
It was black, Asian, Hispanic.
Yeah,
I mean,
Asian.
everyone shifted over.
Yeah, and it was interesting too. She actually did quite well with whites, which was interesting. She liked
White
the
women.
projection. It was pretty accurate.
And
to
low
what they
T
projected.
beta
See,
males.
when I do my show, no matter where I am, and I do this with every single election. It's what Carson used to do. Leno did it a few times, where I would say, okay, we're going to vote now, and kind of be able to predict what the election is going to be. And Carson would do that, and they would get. It's a big chunk of Americana going through the audiences of the Tonight Show, and he would kind of be able to predict who was going to win the election. And so I do the same thing in my show now.
And?
It was crazy. When it was Trump and Hillary, it was almost always about 60-40, 70-30 towards Trump, right? So then the next election comes along.
It's
and
so interesting. We kind of do something similar with street interviews, but that's you have big rooms filled with all sorts of people coming to see you.
And these are shows that are 5, 6, 8.
We
9,
got one coming
10,000
here
people.
next
And
February.
so, and maybe my crowd leans a little bit to the right, But this year, there wasn't even a contest. It was like, it's the same, my same audiences, same people show up. So it was literally like 5% Democrat, 95%, and the roof would come off the place. So on all the polls that were out, I'm like, I don't know if these polls are accurate. I really don't know if they are or not, because my audiences are telling me something completely different.
Democratic Party is out of step with the working people.
You think?
And that's a problem.
Well, you guys, it is back by popular last.
Bro, I don't pay for high-speed internet for this bullshit.
He's already picked. I think it's
Right.
Limited production on those, so scoop those up while supplies last. If you want to support my independent work, please make sure to visit unitedmerch.com/Klug and pick up a shirt or a hat today. Thank you guys very much. Let's get back to this video.
There was a big push right before the election. I mean, a couple months before the election was pushing that Donald Trump is going to be an authoritarian leader. This is what we're going to see. Do you actually think we're going to see that under this administration, Donald Trump's administration, or do you think that was not true?
I actually think it's true, unfortunately. I mean, if you look at the people he's already picking for, key positions in his cabinet, I don't think it's going to be good, but I am willing
Why not?
to give him the benefit of the doubt.
You're going to wait and see.
Right, let's see how he does, because I want whoever's in that office to be successful.
Overall, I think the cabinet picks are well done. I love the fact he's got Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy involved.
Vivek Ramaswamy?
Yeah, Vivek, sorry, Vivek.
Hard one to say.
Was it Elon Musk and
Vivek Ramaswamy?
Yeah, they're ahead of, was it the official?
So Doge is going to fall under Marjorie Taylor Greene. This should be interesting.
See for, I don't even know. Doge?
Department of Government Efficiency.
Yeah, okay.
I love the fact he's got RFK Jr.
Make America healthy again.
For sure.
And who you picked?
Maha.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that pick for RFK Jr.? Was that something that you saw Donald Trump kind of reaching across the aisle with?
So I know he has some background, at least Democrats think he's a little bit.
What's up, Junie? How you doing this morning?
I am willing to give him a chance.
He was considered for Barack Obama's cabinet.
Well,
the EPA.
Yeah, like I said, politics aside, I like what he stands for. I like what he's doing, and let him have a chance at doing it. If he's the first person that I've heard in a long time, agencies inside or out speak out about this issue with passion and fervor, and I wish him the best of luck. I'm behind him 100%.
You as a assuming registered Democrat, I mean, it doesn't seem like those issues are a right or left issue when it comes to America getting healthy again.
Let me tell you what I really stand for.
Let me tell you something.
Forget Democrat label. And maybe progressive, maybe I think I like that more. Here's what I stand for. Healthy food, healthy water, healthy land, good education, and good healthcare system. Whatever party wants to deliver that for me, those are human rights, okay? Those are human rights, basic human fundamental human rights. I don't care what party delivers. Let's do it.
Trump had the opportunity to do all of this stuff before and didn't. I mean, he took
but he was
rights,
still learning.
He didn't really.
Same
fix
with
the
you,
border.
Juniper.
He
Same with you.
didn't take care of immigration like, he promised he would.
Well, he reached like a 40-year low of illegal crossings under his administration. That was actually one of his accomplishments. Would you disagree?
It's lower now than it was then.
But there's still 27 million fucking illegal migrants.
It's lower now than it was then. You're saying under this administration it was lower. This administration has allowed the most illegal immigrants in the country in the history of the United States.
A lot of people disagree. I'm not.
Those are Biden administration's own figures.
Oh.
And I'm not familiar with the figures. All I know is I'm married to a political science
That doesn't mean
who
shit.
Says that things are in many ways
Yo,
better.
bitch, I think I know more about politics and running this country than your husband. And he's got a political science degree, which means nothing. It means you have a piece of paper that says, oh, you're allowed to be in politics.
Now, I don't feel
illegal immigration or just in general?
In general.
Oh.
In general.
Well, we would love to talk to your husband about this.
Yeah.
I would love, that's very interesting, that perspective.
Yeah.
Because it seems as though a lot of people were pushing that, right?
Yeah.
And like you just mentioned earlier in the conversation, it seems as though the American people didn't agree with that.
That is absolutely
And
true.
that means everything.
Yeah.
You know, so if they're feeling it at home, it's difficult to tell them it's actually great.
Yeah.
When they're
Oh,
not
I
feeling
agree.
that.
Anybody with any intelligence knew the country was going in a very negative direction very fast. We were accumulating debts at an astronomical rate.
Yeah, about $1 trillion per 100 days.
Yeah, we need to stop that because you can't continue to run up debt.
And you know, most of America spoke for what was needed. We went through basically a depression for the last 4 years.
But the bottom line is, you know, they showed footage on the border,
What's
right?
the pin say?
And they lied and they said the border was secure when 20 million got through.
It's
we got two
way
wars
more than that.
raging on two different fronts.
3 now.
The food went up, the gas went up, the taxes went up, the crime went up. You got young girls getting murdered, their heads bashed in with rocks because the gangs that came
Hosea
in.
Barra.
What's interesting about that, right? Because these are real concerns that many Americans have, okay?
Right.
And I think that's objectively true, right? This
Right.
isn't like an opinion. These are things that are happening.
Right.
Oftentimes,
Reality.
oftentimes when I bring this up to many Democrat, Kamala Harris supporters, they deny those. What is
They're
going
delusional.
on there to where they're not seeing those issues that you're talking about? Are you exaggerating, or are they just not seeing
I
it?
think I
There's
got
a Chinese
a fucking
proverb
or an
saying,
indica
says one
by
picture
accident.
says 1,000 words. You see a guy that says he didn't go in there and he didn't steal anything from the store, but they got him on camera. One picture says 1,000 words.
Does
We've
it though?
seen it all over the TV. We see people
The fuck
struggling
is that?
to buy food, to pay their rent.
If I were to give you my honest opinion, it does seem as though many Americans, and you almost can't really blame them, I would argue. Many growing up in America where they trusted the media and they still want to trust the media, and so they follow them along the journey that they're down right now. They're, the path that they're going down right now.
Well, the media's been bought. They've been bought, and there's
Speaking of the media being bought,
a lot of people know that.
Elon Musk has shown interest in purchasing 2 different platforms. One of them being InfoWars, and the other being MSNBC. Imagine if he bought MSNBC and completely changed it and fired the fucking news. The people that report the news for MSNBC, such as Racial Mad Cow. Huh?
Know that now.
I think people are really sick and tired, and me especially included, is watching the news. The news should be unbiased and leave their opinions out.
Cable
TV news,
Both
whether
sides,
it
both
be
sides.
But that's not
CNN,
journalism.
Fox, MSNBC, whatever. You just see the bias, and I find it insulting.
It fuels
watching.
extremism.
Like they're just trying to force their values. They're not. They're putting in opinions on that rather than just reporting the facts and leaving it up to us. They'll say, Trump elected a very controversial, JFK to this post.
RFK.
Leave out the very controversial. Just say he elected
JFK's dead.
this person to the post. It's up to us to decide whether we think he's controversial or not. Somebody just keeps trying to throw in their opinion.
I do think that messaging is quite funny, just because, yes, we've all heard that. And I just think it's funny because it's coming from this position, faking as though we're like super healthy and on the right track as a nation when we've never been more sick and unhealthy. So it's like, oh gosh, he might do something different.
Oh, no!
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people voted for Donald Trump.
Yes.
You're obviously in comedy. Wokeness seems to kind of have been the antithesis of that over the last handful of years. And a lot of people it seems like a lot of people wholeheartedly reject that because you have a lot of the massive comedians that are just like, you know what? I'm going to make my jokes. If you don't like them, you can walk out.
wow.
There might be one person, but everyone else, all types of people, are going to sit here.
Dude, the
have
lag
fun
is
and laugh at each
ridiculous.
other. And laugh at the jokes.
Right, and for somebody that's pre-sold, they're actually paying to see that comedian. It's a little bit easier because that's usually your audience, and they're going to go along with whatever you say or you do. I would hate to be a comic just coming up that nobody knows, and they're there to be at the comedy club and not to see that person, and it's a lot more difficult. But and it's a good feeling right now to feel like it's being lifted. I feel like I can say Merry Christmas now. I can say Happy.
can always
Hanukkah,
say
I can
it.
say Happy Kwanzaa, but I can say Merry Christmas, and everybody's okay with it. Most people are, and I think that's really nice right now. Right. So I do feel like the wokeness is hopefully going away because it was no fun being a comic for a while there. And it seems like you say, like now it's okay. If you don't like the jokes, don't buy the tickets, don't come to the show.
Day one of Trump's presidency, what would you just personally like to see him do day one?
A big,
30 buses.
Thousands of buses.
Get them out of here.
Yes.
On day one, immediately shut the border down because we can't support the world.
Close the border.
Close the border and start the pipeline back up.
Reopen
I like that.
Anwar and reopen the pipeline from
Keystone.
Canada.
Just kind of clean up some of Washington.
Basically tell these sanctuary cities if they're not going to follow the laws, then they don't get the money from us, the taxpayers, because there is no government money. It all comes from us taxpayers.
What you're saying right there is what a lot of people are saying. Hey,
Yes.
seal that freaking border,
Yes,
right?
that's the first thing. I think that's going to bleed into a lot of other issues.
Here's how small the world
Hope
is.
that's
It
not
has nothing
LARP.
to do with anything, but I have a character, Ahmed the Dead Terrorist, right? So people think, that's controversial right now. Can you really still do that? People know who he is. It's not a
Yeah.
threat. I'm not making fun of
Ahmed's a
anybody's
fucking
religion.
puppet.
I was doing a world tour, and they booked me in Abu Dhabi.
Uh-oh.
Heavily, it's Muslim, right? And I was scared to death. I thought, what am I going to do here? But this shows me how great the world actually is. 4,000 people there, sold out, most of them Muslims, guys in the dish dash, the women there. I brought Ahmed out, and they thought he was, it was like a homecoming. It was great. They thought it was great. 2 nights later, I'm in the middle of Tel Aviv, Israel, doing the exact same show for 4,000 Jewish people. They thought Ahmed was great. That was their favorite character. I didn't change one word.
Right.
So to me, it's like I feel like the world is filled with mainly good people that all want to get along,
Yeah.
and it's the handful of idiots that are ruining it for the rest of us.
Right.
That's what I feel like. Again, I get to see the world through rose-colored glasses because it's all comedy, but people are there to laugh and they have a great time.
Most important, I just hope there's peace in the country. I hope people are coming together and, get back to being our cohesive society instead of being so divided.
We'd just like to see no name calling and more kindness.
Get the fuck out of here.
I don't really care what side you're on. We all need to work through this.
I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt and wait and see. My hope is
Right.
he's going to be great.
I think it's one of the most important things, if not the most important thing we can do, is come together. Remember the old days where you agree to disagree. And you can hear somebody's opinion and you don't agree with it, but you don't just say, oh, I can't talk to you anymore. You're not my friend
Yeah,
anymore.
you're a fucking cunt.
But I think everybody's
Not
entitled
this lady,
to their
but-
opinion. And, look at them as a whole person, and anybody you really don't agree with 100%, you really aren't. I mean, human nature is inevitably there's always going to be something you're going to disagree with people, but don't let it ruin a good friendship, and just agree to disagree on those issues and hold it together, and we're all Americans.
Well, I wholeheartely agree with what you're saying there. More conversation,
Yeah.
more open dialogue,
Yeah.
less shouting each other down, and learning from each other, and kind of instead of imagining this
Oh.
opposition as some caricature in your mind, actually talking to somebody and saying, hey, what are your thoughts about this, and
Nope.
this?
Yeah.
You don't have to draw up some imaginary version of some political opposition. You can chat with them face to face. For comedy, as for the next 4 years,
It's going to be great.
It's looking pretty good.
It's going to be fun. But at the same time, as a good comedian, you know how far you can push and what you can say. There's always good fun, and that's what was so great about the old late-night comedians, is they would make fun of both sides, but it was always good-natured humor, and everyone would laugh at it. Something happened in the last few years, and the late-night guys started getting mean and started picking sides and calling the other sides idiots.
What do you think it is? Just putting activism before comedy?
Yep.
I guess. I don't know.
Can't even
Business-wise,
call
it's the dumbest move on the
Floating
planet, because
Island trash
you're
Puerto
losing
Rico.
half your crowd. For sure. But so I don't get it. It's like, we didn't hire you to tell us how you think and how you're going to vote and how you think we should. It's like I get up on stage every night and I say, shut up and dance, shut up and act, shut up and sing. We don't care what you think. Just do your thing, and we'll figure out the politics ourselves. That's kind of the way I see it.
All right, everyone, that is it for today. So we had some pretty interesting conversations. Let me know what you guys think down in the
Maybe that's one of the California
section
areas
below.
that
Also,
turned
shout out to
red. Or was already red. Because, Canada. California was a majority of red. Just like New York. Just like the entire country. It's like Verizon took care of all the fucking elections. Or maybe it was fucking Starlink. Like some people are trying to say that Elon Musk is the right's George Soros. I mean, could be. But I haven't seen anything that he's done that would make me think he is. Oh, sorry, I forgot to throw this in. Retard alert. Retard alert.
You want one? Yeah, okay. We'll
You
throw
want
some
one,
more.
retard?
Disagreements are welcome. If not, we'll Keep it up. Just please tilt the mic up because you're taller than our usual question.
So what I want to know, of course, so Trump, when he was in office, had at a certain point he had control of both the Senate and the House, and yet there are many, many issues that are still going on.
Well, so you bring up a pretty good point and then a not good point. So let me give you the pretty good point. You're right. Trump should have done more with a unified House and the Senate. So Donald Trump did actually fix the border, and he did it without the U.S. Senate or House. He did it through executive orders and through executive direction. The border, when Donald Trump was president, had the lowest ever recorded border crossings into our country on the southern border. Under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, it's the highest ever.
Yeah,
Right?
but in the
And
past
so-
6 months.
So why did he veto the border bill then?
Okay, well, first of all,
He
Fa-
used his political power to.
fair enough. How much do you know about the border bill?
So the border bill was endorsed by the Border Patrol agents, right?
First of all, that's not correct.
That is correct.
No, they came out and they said they totally denounced
Not Harris. They didn't endorse Harris. They endorsed the bill.
No, you can look at Brandon Judd's statement. He said that's one of the greatest misinformation lies. But let's talk about what actually it is. That bill.
Pull it up.
Yeah, type in Brandon Judd border bill.
I'm going to type in the Border Patrol endorsement of the bill.
Well, no, Brandon Judd is the one you should look at. Okay. So anyway, what some union says or doesn't say is besides the point. So, but let me ask you this: for getting
He's not
the
even
Border
paying
Patrol's
attention.
endorsement or not, mass amnesty was in the bill. It would have given amnesty to 10
Border
million.
Patrol union-backed Senate immigration bill.
Union.
by the GOP.
Yes. What did Brandon Judd say about that?
So the National Border Patrol Council.
Right, but that's not the Border Patrol Union. Those are two different things, right?
They still have their endorsement, and again, you
Yes,
can't say they're Kamala's.
Hold on a second. They
possibly,
again they
because,
retracted
they
it soon
endorse
after.
Kamala.
Just to be clear, though, it would have given amnesty to 10 million people in this country. Do you think that's a good idea?
Potentially, if they're working in this country.
Are you fucking retarded?
You would give amnesty.
The majority of illegal immigration, 75% of illegal immigration is overstaying visas.
These are 10 million people that came. We're not even talking about the overstay visas. We're talking about people that came across the border. 10 million of them, uninvited. What would you do with them? Give them jobs?
If there's room for them to work.
Oh, this is a super important moral distinction, though. And that's fine. We have clarity, not agreement. You think the people in this audience should have to compete against foreigners for jobs. I think that you have a moral obligation to your own citizens to give them jobs before the
not.
people.
So
You
right
say
now,
not? Okay.
We don't have to worry that you're making a dilemma that doesn't exist. There are more jobs right now in this nation than there was under Trump.
Hold on a second.
Are you sure?
First of all, not well-paying jobs, and they're not keeping up. Why do you think that wages aren't keeping up with inflation? Wages aren't keeping up with inflation because people in this audience have to compete against people that have come across the border. But let's just talk about the morals of it. Just the moral. So you would give amnesty for people that are and newcomers that just come in and cut in line.
I want to talk about the practical here, Charlie.
No,
I'm not gonna follow you.
the border bill gave them amnesty. It is practical.
Yeah.
That's
So
why
the
Trump
practical
torpedoed
here
it.
is if they can help our nation, then we should let them.
Just let me ask you a moral
They're
question. We can
trained.
go back and forth. Do you think it should be a
Again,
crime?
Charlie, I'm not here to talk your talk. I'm here to talk the practical, which
Hold
is
on, no,
if they're
I am
here
practical.
And they can work.
Do-
No, we're not talking about moral here.
Well,
We're
no,
talking-
the only discussion is the moral. Do you think it should be illegal to come into the country?
That's not what you led with the moral. That's not what I led with.
No, that-
We're not moving this conversation.
No,
You
we're going
can't
back to
strawman this.
the border
Yeah,
bill.
you're talking
Actually,
the
no, I'm not
border bill.
strawmanning it. The
You
border
brought it
bill
up.
said
It's straw man, not strong man.
I got it. The border bill did what for an amnesty? It would have given amnesty to 10 million illegal aliens. Yes.
Okay. Again, we're.
So you asked. You said why did Trump torpedo it? Because Trump cares about Americans more than foreigners. That's why. Okay.
Why did the GOP endorse it?
The GOP,
GOP didn't endorse it.
Bipartisan bill.
Hold on a second. Senator Langford, who is a traitor to this country, endorsed it. Yeah.
Multiple GOP senators.
Okay.
and House
If you're trying to
Rhinos?
convince me that a bunch of rhinos, got behind a bunch of border bill, we're going to talk past each other. Read the bill. I do not think D.C. or Washington D.C. should pass a bill that says if you come into a country, you're given amnesty.
Wow, they have
And
to
you
blur that
disagree.
out?
I don't. By the way, if they're doing jobs, more the reason to kick them out because those should be jobs given to Americans.
But the job market is higher now than it has ever been. The stock market is higher now than it has
Hold
ever
on.
been.
Let's hold
Actually-
on. Do you guys think the economy is
No,
better
not
or
true.
worse?
We're not.
You are living on a cloud, man.
Because if
Listen to
the
the people
stock
of the-
market was the best it's ever been, then how come as soon as Trump won the election, it fucking went up? By the election of one person, it went up.
this country. They can't afford things. The job market is awful. The economy is terrible. Stop reading the New York Times and start talking to American voters.
Yeah.
And you understand
Yeah,
how
you're
insane
done,
you
dude.
sound? The economy is better. People are telling you they
playing
can't
low, bro.
afford stuff.
Yeah, inflation is high now because Trump spent more than any president on the debt in 4-year period.
So wait, it's Trump's fault that inflation is high 4 years later.
As you would come to realize, I'd hope in your role that economies are reactionary forces. It takes time for things to be implemented.
Got it. So nothing is Biden's fault. Everything is Trump's fault.
Right.
We'll see Biden's impact largely in the next 3 or 4 years.
Look,
What?
it really is remarkable, the power of propaganda. It's fine. Do you think that Kamala Harris and Biden are successful?
It depends on what metric.
Yes or no?
But economy-wise...
No, I actually do agree. They are a huge success in destroying the country. I totally agree.
So if you look at economists...
Good point.
Right, some of the nations, actually, many of the nation's leading economists have endorsed Kamala Harris for presidency because they say that Trump will ruin the economy.
Get him.
Why didn't he ruin it the first time?
He did.
What?
Trump ruined the economy?
Again, it's reactionary forces. What Trump did is he handled...
So let me just ask one final thing. What is Kamala Harris's greatest accomplishment?
Kamala Harris's greatest accomplishment? I think it depends on who you ask, but I would say...
You.
Yeah, I would say it was cutting child poverty in half.
She did that?
The Biden administration, her and Biden did that, yes. And that was...
How did she do that?
So the child tax credit, basically from
No,
COVID...
no,
The
no.
one from the Trump tax cut.
It's not from the Trump tax cut.
Yeah, it is actually.
No.
Yeah, it's actually from the tax cut from December of 2017. The one that Kamala Harris is running against is the one that you're touting right now.
No, it's not the case at all,
let me
Charlie.
just.
You can lie, but...
No, I mean, you're just totally wrong.
I encourage everyone to look up the child tax credit right now on your phones.
Yeah, the child tax credit was part of the
And look
Trump
on what
tax
bill
cut.
it was passed. Look what year it was passed.
It was during it was 2017, literally. Donald Trump expanded the child tax cut credit in 2017. Final question. Do you think that Kamala Harris would do a better job the next 4 years than Donald Trump? If so, why? To make the case. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would agree that Harris would do a much better job than Trump for a variety of reasons. Again, if you look at our current track record, we're coming out of the COVID and the Trump policy. We have the most amount of jobs. We have the highest paying stock market. We have child poverty that's cut in half. We have the most, the tax credit. So we have multiple
Bro,
reasons.
you
And then
sound
if
like-
you look at the case
you
against
sound like
Trump,
CNN.
you'll see that multiple economists have said that Trump will ruin the economy.
Give me 3 of them.
Right, including Nobel Prize winners.
Give me 3 of them.
No, it's just.
And
this is so.
Have they
this
ever
is
said
actually really
which
instructive.
economists? Because if they're Nobel Peace Prize award-winning economist, why wouldn't you say their names? Has anybody heard any of the economists come out and say this? Especially the Nobel Peace Prize winners?
And thank you for embodying it so perfectly, which is that, like, everyday people are no longer buying the rubbish, that everything's fine, everything's
Apparently
great.
he is.
Young people can't afford homes.
Right, because
'Cause-
here in Montana specifically,
No, every state
I know.
has seen housing prices go up. But not just that, it's that energy prices are up. It is harder than ever to be able to have a family. We have a fertility
All right, so
crisis.
Let's take Montana, for example. Northwestern energy prices are going up under a Republican board of commissioners despite having a budget surplus this year of over $2 billion.
I don't know about that. I'm sure somebody else can comment on that. But going back to the macro trends across the country, Donald Trump, when he was president, lower income earners saw their incomes go up the most.
Everyone
Young
did.
people were flourishing. Lowest ever black unemployment, Hispanic unemployment, Asian American unemployment. We saw an economic renaissance and a miracle. But here's the point. Here's actually the kicker. Here's how I know I'm right. Is that when American people are asked outside of the economists, 70% of people think the Trump economy is better than actually what's happening now. So you're living on an island.
If you look at
So
real
are
wage
people
growth
wrong? No.
compared-
I live on an
real
island.
wage
Answer the
growth
question.
compared to inflation. I encourage everyone
these
to look
people
this up.
wrong?
Statistica, great source.
Are these-
real
Oh.
wage growth compared
Yeah,
to inflation
Statistica.
is higher
I mean-
under the Biden administration?
Are
Kinda
70% of the people here or the country wrong when they say Trump was better at the economy?
Again, look it up.
Ask
I
the
encourage
people.
everyone,
No,
Statistica.com.
but
Ask
Real
the
wage
people.
growth to inflation.
are these people wrong when they say that the economy was better under Trump?
Montana is distinct from the nation itself.
No,
for a
it's
variety of
not.
reasons. Yes, it
How?
is. We have the highest housing increases out of any compared to wage.
Why there's so many people that
under
don't have a house?
Gianforte. So we, compared to average wage growth, or an average wages, it takes more to buy a house here in Montana than anywhere else in the nation.
I
That
doubt
includes
that.
California. That includes.
No, it's fine. Thank you for coming up. I appreciate it. And it's just, this is the divide, is that 70% of the country is saying, I'm suffering and I'm struggling.
So
And
then you said, look
let
around
me-
us.
let
These
me-
are Montanans. Let's talk about
Yeah,
Montana.
ask them.
Well, hold on. Let me finish. They vehemently think you're
A retard.
totally on an island here. And let me just say, though, that this is what's happening in the country. 70% of the country is saying, please help us. We can't afford stuff. And a small oligarchy is saying, you're dumb. Listen to the Nobel Prize winner.
Oops. Oh, I totally hit the wrong button. That's
Disagreements
good.
are welcome.
I'm dumb. I'm going to listen to the Nobel Peace Prize winners. Yo, so I was thinking about this. You know how they have dark MAGA? I realized dark MAGA is for people that aren't white, right? Hence the name Dark MAGA. If that's not true, I'm running with it and saying diversity. No? All right. So you guys remember a couple days ago when we were talking about this guy who pretty much starved one of their kids to death, him and his wife? Well, here's a little bit of a feel-good story.
25-year-old LaRon Modlin entered court in handcuffs, and officers seated him at the defense table. There, during the entire proceeding, he said only 2 words: not guilty. That's how he pled against second-degree murder charges in relation to the death of
Dude, that's
his
a
son,
tiny-ass casket.
4-year-old Jameek Modlin. The boy weighed just 19 pounds when he was transported from his Harlem apartment to the
My
hospital
dogs weigh more than that.
where he died last month. Prosecutors say that Modlin and his wife, 26-year-old Nitavia Ragsdale, kept a full refrigerator in their home turned to the wall and kept cabinets full of food zip-tied, starving the boy and his 3 siblings, ranging in age from 5 to 7. At court on Wednesday,
No comment at this time.
Modlin's attorney made no statement outside of the courtroom, but inside, she objected to images being taken of LaRon Modlin, saying that when other people being held on Rikers Island have seen his image, they've attacked him because of his alleged crimes. She asked that he get protective custody status behind bars and consideration for bail with an ankle bracelet monitor at a future court hearing. The judge obviously allowed for photos of Modlin to be taken. He and the boy's mother also face charges of first-degree assault in relation to allegations of abuse of the 4-year-old's siblings. Modlin is scheduled to come back here to court a week before Christmas, the same day that his wife, Nitavia Ragsdale, is scheduled to go before a judge.
That's one of those situations where, like, dude, I hope the justice system takes care of him before. I'm sorry. Rewind. I hope they take care of him before the justice system does. Beat the shit out of him some more. Stretch his asshole. Do something. Take his food. Oh, let's head on to Miami, where a adult thinks it's okay to have sex. Rewind. Has sexually charged messages with a 12-year-old.
Only on 6, we're learning about the arrest of a 37-year-old man accused of sexting a 12-year-old girl. And new details are coming to us from a source close to the investigation.
Before we get into the details of the story, we do want to warn you ahead of time that some of those details are difficult to hear. NBC6's Julia Bagg following the story. She's live outside of Miami Police Headquarters with what we know so far. Julia?
Yeah, and Chris, the very latest, I just received word in the last minute that this man in question is appearing before a judge right now as I'm speaking. We've learned from that source close to the investigation that it was this young girl's mother who came forward to police here after she found out what was going on.
37-year-old Yosfani Fernandez Gonzalez, accused of texting a
That's a lot of
12-year-old
names.
girl and exchanging naked pictures of himself. That's according to a source close to the Miami police investigation. The girl's mother alerted officers after she reportedly discovered her daughter had been texting a man pictures of her privates and found the man's naked pictures on her daughter's phone. The source also revealed Fernandez Gonzalez arranged to meet the child at a store, but met Miami police detectives there instead. Just last week, detectives with the same special victims unit arrested North Miami Beach's deputy city manager.
David Scott,
Holy
deputy
shit.
City manager for North Miami Beach.
63-year-old David Eugene Scott lost his job. He is now charged with possessing child pornography.
What a fucking piece of
And
shit.
again, you are hearing these details.
Two
first
pieces of
on
shit.
NBC6 about this Fernandez Gonzalez case. We're expecting to learn
Is he
new
legal?
details from the chief of police here at the Miami Police Department very soon. So stay close. Live.
Did you
this
really,
afternoon
Roots?
in Miami.
My bad, bro. My bad. Not really. Sometimes it needs to be seen. I didn't think it was going to give people nightmares, but I got you. My bad, bro. My bad.
The top at 6, a new accuser in the case of a suspected rapist on a popular Northern Virginia trail tonight. She's speaking only to Fox 5.
And this all comes as we continue to learn more about the suspect who is in the country illegally, as well as his lengthy criminal
Illegally,
past.
huh?
Fox 5's chief legal correspondent Katie Barlow live tonight in Herndon with this exclusive interview and also reaction from police. Katie?
Hey, good evening, guys.
Good
Dennis
evening.
Humberto Navarrete Romero is in the country illegally and has an extensive background of interactions with law enforcement, according to police. He tried to choke a police officer back in June 2022
Bet he's
here
vetted.
in Herndon when they were responding to a groping incident. Chief of Police here, Maggie DeBoard, says that at the time they charged felony assault of a law enforcement officer. But then the Fairfax County Commonwealth's attorney Steve Descano downgraded the charge to simple assault, which is only a misdemeanor.
Oh, he's going to fucking get out and do it again.
Frustrating because I tell the community you should feel safe here, and I do believe they're safe in Herndon. I truly do. But when you have cases like this, I look at this and seeing if some part of the system, if it was all working together, if there was a way to make it work, this would never have happened. And I don't think you can point the finger at any one place and say they're to blame because it's a conglomerate of problems.
Romero was arrested for indecent exposure on October 19, 2024, sentenced to 50 days behind bars.
And?
But he was released 25 days early on November 14th based on good behavior law in Virginia.
He's illegal.
4 days later, he was arrested for rape. Jennifer Pugh was the woman who filed the police report after he followed her home before exposing himself.
He kept coming, trying to grab my dog. Then he was trying to, come after me, and he was saying stuff. He didn't speak English, but he was, and then all of a sudden he started pulling his stuff out. And so
Did you
I
punt
said, there's
kick him?
ring cameras all around, and he didn't care.
Punt kick.
ICE has not yet confirmed whether they were notified of Romero's presence in the country illegally after these incidents. For both, he was transferred to the custody of the Fairfax County Sheriff's Office. The sheriff's website says their policy is that ICE is notified every time an undocumented immigrant is taken into their
Are they gonna
custody.
get him?
Now, the sheriff says anyone committed to the adult detention center is fingerprinted, and those fingerprints are transferred to the Commonwealth, who then submits it
To the
to
FBI?
federal law enforcement agencies. Now, the Commonwealth's attorney did not
They
explain
have
their
my
decision-making
fingerprints
in
and DNA.
downgrading the charge, but said they prosecuted the case, and because of that prosecution, he did end up spending time in jail. Guys?
You know, when I think about the government having my DNA since I was 17 years old, I wonder if my DNA has morphed with all the shit they put in my bloodstream and all the shit that I inhaled in burn pits. What if my DNA changed and it's a good, strong DNA? Right? Maybe it's the last key to masculinity. Right? Alright, fuck you guys.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to One Nation. I'm Brian Kilmeade. Thanks for dating early or dating late. What a lineup we have for you tonight. Whistleblower Tara Rodas is going to be talking about an immigration problem where kids have gone missing. She tried to blow the whistle. She lost her job. Charlie Kirk did the impossible. He did
I remember Tara.
people on college campuses to the Trump campaign. And Hulk Hogan,
Tierra
one
gave
of
a
many
really
athletes
good
and entertainers who stepped forward and
interview.
suddenly decided that Trump is their guy. Where do they go from here? But we
Not in
begin
this one, but
week with one
previously.
story that overwhelmed all others in my view, and that is immigration. In the courtroom we go. Illegal migrant Jose Ibarra, convicted of murder and the gruesome death of 22-year-old Laken Riley. It was a swift decision in a case that encapsulated, in my view, the national debate over immigration in this single one incident. You got a major component that helped President Trump get elected because of it, remember?
So
let's break down the timeline of this.
So he got life in prison. Would it be cheaper, right, to deport his ass than keeping him in the system for however many fucking years because he's young? You know? And I'm pretty sure he's not going to get shanked. He's probably going to go join the rest of his Tren de Aragua buddies. If that is the gang he's in. There's more. Especially being in Florida. Wait, this is Georgia.
Guy, the Venezuelan gangbound, Ibarra, breached our border and lived off New York City free taxpayers, free migrant services before he hopped on a free flight to Georgia courtesy
Hold
of
on.
New York
Hold
City.
on. Don't forget the 2023. I totally forgot about this until I saw this yesterday or this morning. That he injured in a child. Not sure if it was like child porno or child CSAM or if he was abusive. Either way, he got arrested for it. They let him out, and somehow he ended up in Georgia. Whoa. The same fucking month.
City taxpayers. He had one thing on his mind, to rape and kill an innocent young woman, and he did just that. What struck me most was the stone-cold emotionless stare on Ibarra's face throughout the entire process. While he heard cops recount Laken's final moments during her 18-minute struggle for her life, he sat there. Medical experts assess his grisly crime scene. He sits there blankly. And the heartbreaking witness statements, emotionless. The Venezuelan migrant just sat there, leading me to conclude this guy is soulless, like so many others. A deafening reminder of President Trump's warning on the campaign trail.
And it's only getting worse. It's just incredible. Many of them, as you know, are murderers, drug dealers, people from jails. They're letting their people out of jails and bringing them right into our we're like a dumping ground.
This is why I highly recommend tasers, pepper gel, a pistol. If it's allowed in your state for constitutional carries, because I know I have a constitutional carry state.
Yeah, and they said he was exaggerating. This is not the first example of smugness. Remember the Venezuelan migrant who brazenly flipped off photographers while, as you could see, walking from his arraignment after beating down 2 cops? Yeah, he got out. What about the migrant smiling this week in front of the cameras for allegedly, this is after allegedly robbing a Manhattan prosecutor and got caught performing a lewd act? You think he regrets anything? Look at the smile on his face.
Nah.
Or this Honduran national who is grinning from ear to ear in his latest mugshot after allegedly raping a woman in Virginia. Any regrets?
Virginia.
These evil gangsters are criminals. They are clear examples of the Biden-Harris administration's failures. You would think after the election drubbing and all the crimes that we have seen, Dems would join in a nationwide crackdown. But instead, they are looking to resist, not to combine to get rid of these animals, but to fight Trump for trying to deport them.
Would the Massachusetts State Police assist in mass deportations?
No, absolutely not. I think
What
the
if?
key here is that
What if these police
every
organizations,
tool in the
these
toolbox has got to be used to protect
state police and shit were like, you know what? I don't care what the governor says. It's federal law.
our citizens, to protect our residents, and protect our states.
We have been a pro-immigrant city for a number of years. We know that there is a target on our back from this president-elect.
Did you say
and
our?
What we are doing here
Are you
is
illegal?
We are hardening our defenses. We are codifying our good policies on protecting immigrants.
Being undocumented is a problem.
It's a crime.
But our solution, instead of turning the military on our own people, is to document them.
We're not turning the military on our own people, right? Illegal immigrants aren't our own fucking people. It's the National Guard's job to take care of issues like this. It's in their constitutions.
To document the undocumented.
You believe this idiocy? The Massachusetts governor, they want to not worry about those small things. People do certain things. And then you have AOC. Let's just make them all legal. No one wants that. Rest assured, Americans, these delusional blue staters have an opponent. Here he is.
Those people who say they're going to stop us from what they're doing, they will not. I'm going to do this job. Men and women of ICE are going to do this job. You're not going to stop us. But let me give you a word of advice. If you impede us, there's going to be consequences. You cannot help us, but also read Title 8, United States Code 1324 III.
You know, this sounds eerily familiar to Germany. But I don't think we're going to put them in concentration camps and kill them.
It's a felony to harbor and conceal, knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien. So read that statute and don't cross that line.
You got that, big city mayors? But perhaps the most horrific result of their horrible immigration policy, losing track of more than 320,000 migrant children. A key piece of information Democrats refuse to accept.
Today's hearing will be one final
fucking
attempt
Jay
by the
Powell's a
majority to use
fucking
all their
cunt.
same false talking points, that the Biden administration purposefully created a border crisis and lost, in quotes, lost tens of thousands of children, all of which
Hey,
we
what's
know
up, Nunya?
is
How you
wrong
doing
by
this
the
morning?
facts. Let's just be clear, these children are not lost. While HHS conducts 3 follow-up calls to ensure that everything is going well between a sponsor and a child, the agency has no ability to force their way into the home. If no one answers these 3 calls, then HHS is no longer in contact with the child. Now, that does not mean that the child is, quote, lost.
She is delusional. Sadly, my next guest is not going to make you feel any better about the fate of these children or about her statements. When she spoke out about what she witnesses on the ground, it cost her her job eventually at the Department of Health and Human Services. She thought she was going to entertain kids at the border as they waited for their relatives to show up. In the end, it was anything but that. Joining us now, former HHS employee Tara.
Bro, look at
Tara,
that
great to
fucking
see you.
head.
What do you think about what the statement from that last lawmaker? Was she accurate?
He's got to be an alien.
Brian, thank you so much for having me on today. It's a real honor to be here with you. And no, sadly, the Congresswoman is incorrect. And we know, based on just the reporting of the New York Times, which, you know, I don't think anybody would agree or disagree, rather, with the facts of the New York Times, but they revealed that 85,000 children were not able to be
And
in
I'm like your
contact
morning
with.
show.
So I'm not sure what they're thinking about. And then recently, the Department of Homeland Security Office
I told
of
you she
Inspector
looks like an
General
alien.
released a report that
fucking
revealed that
dome.
320,000 children, they're not able to know their whereabouts. So this is totally unacceptable. This is an absolute failure of this administration. And they should have done something sooner, like back in 2021 when our team at the Pomona Fairplex revealed that children were being trafficked.
So, Tara, what did you see? You said, I thought I'd go down there and help these kids with puzzles until their relatives showed up. But what
So
were you-
Obama put the kids in cages, and then Biden let them get trafficked and disappear. Sounds like a good plan.
you seen?
Yeah, so Brian, you know, the government made an all call. They knew they had a crisis at the border in 2021, and me and a lot of other federal
Right,
employees, we
Misty?
raised our hand and said, hey,
I couldn't
send
remember the
me, I
name.
will go. They needed Spanish speakers, and I'm a Spanish speaker, and I did. I thought I was going to be doing puzzles and playing games with the kids. And what we found is that the children were telling us that they did not know who they were going to, or worse, that they were actually lured here, and that they were told, hey, if you come to the United States, out of the goodness of my heart, I'm going to pay your journey, but you've got to stay with me, and you have to work off your debt until your debt is paid. And of course, the children are never able to get out of debt bondage. So they were lured by being told, you're only making $2.50 a day. But if you come here, we're going to pay you $6 an hour. These children believed they were going to
$6
be
an
Elon
hour.
Musk rich.
Isn't that the old minimum wage? $5.25? Or am I old? I remember $4.25, but that's a long time ago. Shit was cheap.
And so did their families. And their families let them go. And that's terrible because this is a family separation program and it's appalling.
You told them, hey, these are not their parents. These are not their relatives. And they basically told you to hit the road. I want you to hear another story that I think is important to know. This is a trafficking expert, Alicia Hopper. And this is what the story that she wanted to relay. It's how real this terror is. Watch.
A young girl who arrived at the border in the custody of individuals claiming to be her family was bruised, disoriented, and in pain. Medical examinations revealed that she had been raped, yet she was sent back to her abusers because no verification was done to confirm her guardianship. This is not an isolated case, but a glaring failure of the system, leaving children in the hands of those who exploit them.
How do you explain the disconnect between the reality that you spoke about, she's talking about, and Democratic lawmakers who says basically there is no problem, we're calling them at their house, and if there's 3 rings and they don't pick up, we send someone after them? How do you
I don't believe
explain
that
disconnect?
If they did that, they'd be finding these kids.
They've done incredible things to hide the story. As a matter of fact, still today, HHS is stonewalling the data. And we just have to ask, why is that? Why is HHS holding on to data that would lead to the rescue of children and the prosecution of traffickers who are harming the children? Why is that? It's because they know the truth is that children have been handed over to criminals, to traffickers, and to members of transnational criminal organizations, to include MS-13, 18th Street Gang, and other unsavory characters. That's what the data
Where did
will
La M
reveal,
go?
and that's why they have not been able to let it out. And it's absolutely, it's horrifying to know that the federal government would withhold data, even by subpoena, that could rescue children.
The biggest embarrassment.
Those eyebrows
to
are
this
fucking
country.
wow.
And it's a big fight for this because this is the same administration that gave us the Afghanistan withdrawal, is HHS Secretary Becerra, because he knows what you know. And instead of listening to you and trying to act on it, he got rid of you. Also, it's important
Why didn't
to
they
know
just use
that
CS
we have
guys?
a new administration coming in. RFK Jr. is the one who's been nominated. If he gets nominated, if he gets the confirmation, could he straighten this out?
What do you think?
Brian, absolutely. With Tom Homan as the border zone.
Yo, look at her cross.
Secretary Kennedy.
I'm surprised they haven't called her a fucking racist. It's the same cross that Hegseth has fucking tattooed on him. You see it? Crazy. I guess she's a white supremacist too.
Kennedy, along with Secretary Noem, I absolutely believe, and of course DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard, I absolutely 100% believe that they can fix this problem. The administration has left a mess. It's broken. This program is broken, but it absolutely can be fixed. We simply need to elevate the activity of child trafficking on the NIPIF, and we absolutely must go after traffickers and dismantle trafficking infrastructure. This can be fixed with the new administration.
And we got to find those hundreds of thousands of kids. They're going through hell right now in many cases. Tara Rodas, thanks for speaking up. I appreciate it.
Brian, thank you so much for highlighting the plight of the children.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
They know the kids are missing. They don't give a shit. And what are we supposed to do? Say something, say something? Absolutely. But then you turn around and you see these migrant children are being sent right back to their abusers. So at that point, see something, say something is useless. I'm not saying you shouldn't keep doing it, but it looks like 336,000 missing kids that, oh, if we haven't heard from them in like a couple of days, we call them house and then we go visit them. Well, then you would know where these fucking kids are if you actually did your job. Right? All right. So that was the end of that subject section. The next subject section we're going to go into is detention centers and the abusers. What I really wanted to do this the other day is because I was seeing stories of Washington where over 300 to 600 children or inmates were abused. So before we do that, we're going to take a little break. This is the new Jaguar commercial, edited, of course, to make it more truthful, I guess. So with that being said, I'll see you in... Oh shit, this is only 34 seconds.
Jaguar cars aren't selling very well, so we thought, what the hell, go big or go home. We saw what Gillette did and we said, hold my Bud Light. Our corporate marketing team developed an ad that's so edgy and cool, everyone will be saying, Jaguar is sick. We'll be honest, we put every last penny we had into those outfits, so if this doesn't work, we are totally fucked. But we're pretty sure it's gonna work. I mean, it's not like this one single ad is going to totally bankrupt our company or anything, right? Jaguar, we're not just gay. We're super gay.
Mr. Reagan.
Super gay. Super gay. So if you're super gay, Jaguar's for you. Little known secret. I believe Ford Motor Company actually purchased Jaguar. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was a decade ago. Oops. All right. I need to close that. And let's head on to the next subject. Some of them may be same story, and if I see that, I'll just fucking forward to the next subject story. Sorry, my brain's not working. Maybe it's because it's still morning time, or has nothing to do with that. I've had 2 cups of coffee. Yeah. All right. So like I said, this is from a Washington juvenile facility, and this is a lot of these news segments that came from there. When it came to trying to find interviews with some of the victims, who obviously were inside the news articles I was looking at, but I couldn't really find anybody that spoke about it on camera, so it kind of makes it a little difficult. So this is basically judging off by what the media is telling you.
Hundreds of allegations of sexual abuse are now coming to light. Victims ranging in age from 8 to 18 years old. All of those accusations taking place behind bars at juvenile detention facilities in our state.
Tonight, Fox 13's Matthew Smith is sharing the story of one of those victims, a story he couldn't share with his own family for more than a decade. Matt?
David Sabir, the concerning part here is that this man's story echoes hundreds of others that took place behind bars and juvenile detention facilities here in our state. And lawyers tell Fox 13 that even more victims are now coming forward with plans to file their own lawsuit.
Yeah, any type of support from outside when you're in there helps a lot, you know?
Digging through boxes and uncovering memories from his time behind bars.
This is crazy right here.
Can be therapeutic for Dakota Ingram. Some memories are good.
This was my dad and my brother came and visited me here.
Others were emotionally boxed up and hidden for years, never to see the light of day.
I just felt like that I was damaged, you know, and I couldn't talk about it.
Ingram is one of the 188 initials or names in this lawsuit. Add that to the 176 in this lawsuit. Combined, there's 364 stories of previously incarcerated children and teens, victims ranging in age from 8 to 17, each with their own story of sexual abuse.
You get yourself in a position that you don't know that you're getting in as a kid, and then, you know, next thing you know, that just something happens.
Ingram never even spoke about his abuses until 3 years ago. In reality, he's still dealing with.
I made one mistake.
Bro, those are some nasty ass
the stuff that I endured, and told myself that
probably a mechanic.
You have to do that. You have to accept what's happening to you because you made a mistake.
In fact, the crime that landed him at Green Hill in 2002 was the first thing ever to appear on the 16-year-old's criminal rap sheet. His lawsuit describes how he was groomed by one of the few people he had contact with, a guard who would sexually abuse him for the duration of his 16 months there.
I made it really clear every time anything happened to me, he knew it wasn't consensual. He knew that I wasn't interested in him.
Ingram's story sticks out because it extended beyond the walls of the facility after he was
Oh, this is
released.
crazy.
That one event was probably more damaging than, everything that happened while I was locked up.
According to the lawsuit, the man who attacked him was one of the 5 Green Hill employees that eventually showed up unannounced at Ingram's home.
I remember in that moment, the anxiety that I felt, I could barely breathe.
He says that under the guise of a welcome home haze, they convinced his parents to let them inside, only to wake him up by cuffing him to his own bed.
They tried to play it off like, oh, it was a welcome home party.
Shattering any sense of security.
I know exactly what that was, you know? It was you showing that you're present, that how easy it is for you to come into my house and, you know, if I was to ever come forward with anything.
This abuse was really, really rampant, widespread, not particularly hidden.
Vanessa Osland is the attorney taking on hundreds of clients and
Yo, she can literally
state.
smoke a
We believe there
cigarette
will be
without
at
ever
least
putting her hand
one
on it.
other lawsuit filed against the state in similar numbers.
Those victims were at more than a dozen different facilities between the 60s and as recently as 2022. Many, like Ingram,
there's no boundaries,
still live with the repercussions, even blaming themselves.
He's not the one who needs to feel ashamed about this. This is not his fault.
DCYF didn't exist until 2018, but as the agency that now runs the state's juvenile detention facilities, they're the ones who are reacting to the hundreds of names, stories, and details as they come out. They tell Fox 13 a 2024 law change lifted time limits, leading to an influx in cases, adding, quote, most of the torts submitted are historic in nature. This is similar to what many institutions are seeing across the country.
I think that the state should take responsibility for what's happened. If the state was on the right side of it, they should make it right. They need to make the changes that need to be changed.
You can't do this to kids. And you will be held accountable if you continue doing this to kids, because the state, the state wants to hold these kids accountable. Where's the accountability for the state?
Now, it is unclear just how much money this could end up costing the.
Why should the kids be held accountable for state employees at a juvenile detention facility if the juvenile didn't cause a crime and they were the victim? How are they held accountable? That doesn't make sense. How can they be held accountable? They're not the one that did the crime. Oh, fuck out of here.
We're learning more about the accusations against 2 workers at a Wiregrass Juvenile Center. The 2 workers were formally indicted today, now accused of abusing teens at the Southeast Alabama Diversion Center. Christopher White and Bernard March were arrested in May, charged with one count each of willful abuse of a child. It happened at the Southeast Alabama Diversion Center in Dothan, and prosecutors say March pushed his legs over a teen boy's head until he passed out and urinated on himself while pinned to the ground on his stomach. And White pinned another teen boy to the ground with his knee on the boy's neck. Right now, it's unclear whether the 2 are still working at the facility, but we contacted the diversion center today, and employees said they could not comment.
Each of these 9 victims were
All right, so that was Alabama. If they were charged, accused, whatever, why would they still be working at the facility? Who made that decision? Right? Sorry. Doesn't make any fucking sense. Are they being held accountable if they're still working there? Are they on guard shift? What are they doing? Because they still have access, right?
sexually abused as children by staff working for these private contractors.
4 lawsuits have been filed so far. 2 of the plaintiffs, Christopher Brickley and Mariah Brewer, say between the ages of 14 and 15 they were sexually assaulted on multiple occasions by staff at the Arkansas Juvenile Assessment and Treatment Center in Alexander and the Mansfield Juvenile Treatment Center. All 9 clients say they were sexually abused by staff as children at the 2 facilities, both owned by the Arkansas Department of Youth Services under the Department of Human Services. Gillespie says the underlying issue is the state's flawed system of contracting operation of the facilities to private companies.
Just
When you
like
have a
prisons.
private company who is focused on the bottom line, focused on profits, running a prison, particularly a prison for children, their goal is to maintain these lucrative contracts with the state. These companies are incentivized to do everything in their power to keep those contracts.
Gillespie says in all 9 of the lawsuits he is filing, including Brickley and Brewers, none of the abuse was reported to police and the alleged perpetrators were kept on staff.
So,
Of course.
what do they do when numerous children report to supervisors at these facilities that they're being sexually exploited or assaulted by a staff
And
member?
what happened?
They don't do anything.
Of the 9 lawsuits, 5 are alleging child sexual abuse within the last 5 years. At least one of the plaintiffs says they were raped. The private contractors named by Gillespie in lawsuits filed and to be filed include Southern Arkansas Youth Services, which previously operated the Mansfield facility but was dissolved when its CEO was convicted of bribery and fraud. The other contractors are Youth Opportunities Incorporated, G4S, and Rite of Passage, which currently operates both the Alexander and Mansfield facilities. The Department of Human Services provided the
These are
following
private
statement
prisons.
to Channel 7. While we are not commenting
Private
on any pending
detention center,
litigation, DHS
just like prisons.
always takes the safety and well-being of children and youth in our custody very seriously. We thoroughly respond to any and all complaints when they are brought to our attention.
That's crazy.
Today, in the hundreds of allegations of sexual assault being leveled at juvenile detention centers all across Pennsylvania.
CBS 21's Elise Person has followed this story from
5,
the
4,
beginning.
5
She is
states.
here now with the
What's up,
latest
Zippity?
filing. Hi, Jasmine. Well, just
Keep
today,
your eyes on
more
the
than
road.
60 additional victims filed lawsuits alleging they were sexually abused while staying at juvenile detention centers across the state. Now, the total number of alleged victims comes to over 200. But it's important to note that not all of these victims are from state-run facilities, but their lawyer tells me the largest number of survivors comes from those centers overseen by the Department of Human Services. The court documents filed say DHS, quote, had knowledge and turned a blind eye to this culture of abuse. In fact, the victim's lawyer, Jerome Block, compared the abuse that took place to that at the Catholic Church facilities.
This has to be something that the governor should be concerned about, that the attorney general should be concerned about. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has investigated and done reports on systematic sexual abuse in the Catholic Church. This is no different.
And coming up at 6, I'll be breaking down a little bit more of the history of the allegations of sexual abuse at these detention centers statewide. And you can hear what the victims are looking for.
So far, we've been in, what, 4 or 5 different states? All pretty much the same story. Allegations were brought up. And the prison administration looked the other way.
Alleged victim Michael Gilpatrick was back on the stand today. He was questioned about his upbringing and his history of drug use at a young age. Gilpatrick says he was a rebellious kid with
Weren't we all?
stays in and out of hospitals and placements.
I didn't have the love. Everybody treated me bad. I was at these places and they weren't good places.
He was in custody at the Youth Development Center between 1997 and 2000. It was during that time he says he was held down by Bradley Asbury and sexually assaulted in a stairwell by other staff members. Asbury is on trial for accomplice to aggravated sexual assault charges. There was a heated moment between Gilpatrick and the defense attorney after the lawyer continued to ask about specifics leading up to the alleged assault.
Let's go. You're a sick man. Wow, you really are. Go away from me.
Gilpatrick is also involved in a civil suit against the state. The defense questioned him about pre-settlement funds he's collected over the last year. Also, how he was connected to his attorney, Russ Riley, who also represents David Meehan, the first alleged victim to come forward, who has won a lawsuit earlier this year for abuse he suffered at YDC.
But we didn't know that was going to happen when I brought this case forward. When I told
What does a lawyer
cops
matter?
that these 4 men, what they did to me 5 years ago.
And Gilpatrick was dismissed around 2:30 this afternoon. Next on the stand was his wife, Kelly. The trial will continue tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. And we do just want to mention that News 9 usually does not name the alleged victims of sexual abuse. However, Gilpatrick has been outspoken about his experience.
Well, he's also an adult, and I'm pretty sure he wants people to know. So, like I said, when people in positions of trust destroy that trust, what are we supposed to do? Call law enforcement? Okay.
The case against a Las Vegas Metro Police sergeant takes a twist as he's actually taken into custody, facing new charges. Thanks for staying with us here at 6:30. I'm Denise Valdez.
I'm David Charn. So he will likely be spending the night in jail. This is a story the 8 News Now investigators first broke, and now we've obtained the arrest report just filed earlier today with some new details about these allegations. Vanessa Murphy has the latest from the Regional Justice Center. We do want to warn you that this report is of a sensitive nature.
Kevin Menon was walking into court here to appear for his first case, but the Las Vegas Metro Police sergeant was unexpectedly taken into custody on 2 new charges related to child pornography.
What's up, man?
Oh.
What's up, brother? Hey, I'm the sergeant.
Kevin Menon pushes an officer while working on the Las Vegas Strip. Videos like this at the center of the first case against him as he's charged with 13 counts related to abuse of his power as the leader of a special unit. On Wednesday, prosecutors filed 2 new counts of possession of visual pornography of a person under the age of 16, after Metro Police say they found images of prepubescent girls on Menon's laptop. In this arrest report obtained by the 8 News Now investigators, detectives say Menon used search terms like teen P and another with the word pedo. The 8 News Now investigators outside Menon's North Las Vegas home as police were back with another search warrant. His wife in tears, waiting and then leaving with their dog.
Any matters to be presented from the grand jury?
A grand jury indicted Menon earlier this month after viewing multiple videos where Menon, who's dressed in plain clothes, appears to create fake scenarios which led to stops, searches, and arrests. Most of the citizens who are targeted appear to be black men. A few examples. In one case, Menon tries to hand 2 men fraudulent money. In another, he pretends to know this man in a sports book. And in a third, he shoulder checks a man on a pedestrian bridge.
It was a setup.
Menon is scheduled to appear in court for those 2 new
crazy.
charges Thursday morning. He's being held without bond. Reporting in downtown Las Vegas, Vanessa Murphy.
Creates incidents. He's like a fucking vlogger. Not a vlogger. TikToker. You know, though, or these First Amendment auditors, they create the issue, and then they become the victim. They're the victim. Well, 13 cases of misuse of power, plus 2 charges of child pornography possession. I hope they know you're in jail. Yo! Not only is he going to be in jail, if he gets convicted, he'll be in jail as a police officer, former police officer. They're not going to like that. And a chomo. They're not going to like that. This dude's probably going to get protective custody for, 6 months? Right? Fucking joke, man. Come on.
A grand jury has approved the request for a petition to investigate alleged crimes against kids by the Oklahoma Department of Human Services.
Wait, another state?
NAACP Tulsa chapter president Dr. Francetta Mays says as of Friday, they were given the green light by a grand jury for a petition to look into systemic issues with accountability of kids being harmed and families disconnected.
We hold the people at the top accountable.
We look at some of the cases where families have reported abuse that's being done to their children. Nothing happens.
You can follow this developing story at KTL.com. We also have the petition posted on our site for your viewing.
Come on, Oklahoma. You're joining that long list. Wait, another
Survivors of
state?
sex abuse told traumatic stories on the steps of City Hall about the time they spent in juvenile detention facilities in Brooklyn and the Bronx.
As Dave Carlin reports, this comes as additional civil lawsuits were announced, bringing the grand total to more than 400 filed since April.
I can say I'm a survivor.
When he was 13 years old, construction worker Jose Matias
Oh, by the
was
way,
in a
when I was
juvenile
searching for these
detention
videos,
facility in the Bronx.
I only put a month out. So anything that's in this is from the past 30 days.
I got arrested for having a bag of marijuana in my pocket and on school grounds.
Jailed, he says, by a judge who told him it was because his home life was too troubled. It was 1999, and he says a city staffer in charge of transporting him to and from court sexually assaulted him.
When we get to the facility, and I got to strip you, I got to make sure you don't have no weapons. Going through sexual abuse is traumatizing, and it can take a toll on your life.
In coming forward, Matias joins 425 others. His civil lawsuit against the city will be heard here at Bronx Supreme
25,
Court. More
just for
survivor
that one
stories were
facility.
heard on the steps of City Hall.
I was only 15 years old. A staff member abused me multiple times. This happened to me so long ago, but I believe it's still happening to this day. I don't want another child to go through what I did.
City Council member Carlina Rivera co-sponsored a bill that created a look-back window with a deadline of March 2025 to file civil lawsuits. It holds institutions accountable, she says.
What this extension has done is exposed rampant abuse at New York City-run juvenile justice facilities.
A spokesperson for the city's Administration for Children's Services sent us this statement. Sexual abuse and harassment is abhorrent and unacceptable. While these incidents predate this administration and ACS's involvement with juvenile
You can
justice,
still find
we
the
take
guards.
these allegations very seriously.
Why are you coming forward with your story? Because if you've experienced any type of trauma on the hands of any staff member at a juvenile facility or anywhere, any form of sexual abuse, then you need to come forward.
He says the support of his wife and kids and his community helps him heal and motivates him to try and fix what he calls a broken system. At City Hall,
I'm telling you, man, these stories. I thought I was just going to find that main story from Washington that I was looking for. And you know me, whenever I see something like some bait like that story, I'm going to take it. I'm going to find some more of it. And the more and more states that have showed up in the past month, that are being reported at least, is fucking insane. Because, again, this is another state.
County Juvenile Detention Center faces yet another scandal. This time, a state employee brought in by the county to monitor operations is accused of sex crimes against a 15-year-old staying at the facility, and there may be others involved. CBS Detroit's Andres Gutierrez is in Hamtramck outside the detention center to unpack these allegations.
A spokesperson for Wayne County wrote in a statement they are, quote, profoundly saddened that state employees entrusted to care for children would exploit them. Here's what they say are the facts of the case. Wayne County launched an investigation last week when staff at the Juvenile Detention Center discovered an employee with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services allegedly touched a 15-year-old child inappropriately inside the facility. That investigation led to the arrest of the MDHHS employee booked on criminal sexual conduct and child abuse. Although they've been released as investigators gather more evidence,
Wow.
MDHHS told us the employee is suspended without pay. On top of this, the sheriff's office also uncovered that at least 2 other state employees may be tied to these latest allegations. And because of that, Wayne County has kicked out all state employees responsible for monitoring operations out of the
Oh, they could
facility.
charge them with
This is the
RICO.
latest blow to
Under
the
RICO.
facility that lost its full license last fall after the state found an egregious number of
Yo,
violations.
imagine if all these guys were charged under the RICO Act. All 50 states. Imagine that. They'd be fucked, which would be great.
Including some cells that had air vents covered in feces for over 3 months. Today, CBS News Detroit
Whoa.
made multiple air vents covered. State found an egregious number of violations, including some cells that had air vents covered in feces for over 3 months. Today, CBS News Detroit made multiple attempts to get leaders at Wayne County and MDHHS to discuss the ongoing issues at the detention center, but they all deferred to statements. MDHHS writing in part, if the allegations are true, we trust this employee will be prosecuted and held accountable with the full weight of the law. This behavior is not reflective of the important work our child welfare workforce does every day to protect the safety of children. And so county leaders are now waiting for the sheriff's office to complete their investigation so the case can be sent to the Wayne County prosecutor's office to make a decision on charges. In Hamtramck, Andres Gutierrez.
At least 3. At least 3. Not isolated incidents. are they? More and more, especially when you got hundreds of people coming forward from all these other different states. And I don't know if this is the same state. Have I done Illinois yet? Well, if I haven't done Illinois, then another state.
A follow-up to the exclusive interview you saw first here on 2. A new scathing lawsuit accuses state employees of sexually abusing 95 people while they were children detained in Illinois detention facilities. Our Charlie DeMar continues his reporting live from the control room. Charlie.
And Erica, we spoke to several incarceration reform advocates who say problems still persist within the Illinois juvenile justice system. And this group is now calling for the
Hey, Bat Mom, how are you doing
of the
this
remaining
morning?
facilities.
I was victimized and sexually abused, which led to decades of mental anguish and confusion.
Kelvin McDowell is surrounded by other people who say they were sexually abused as kids while detained at Illinois detention centers around the state.
I held my secret from the people I loved out of fear and embarrassment. I had nights where I wanted to give up on life.
95 people are now suing the state of Illinois and Department of Juvenile Justice. The alleged abuse occurred from 1996 to 2017.
Our mission is to close the 5 youth prisons that are currently open.
The Final Five campaign has worked with kids in the juvenile justice system and strongly opposes the state's youth centers.
We've been working in the facilities for a couple years, and I think that there's sexual abuse, there's physical abuse, there's mental abuse. The youth is just not able to be kids.
When you face with pain,
we sat down exclusively with Jeffrey Christian. He says his youth was stripped from him after he was allegedly abused as a child at 2 Illinois youth centers.
I'm thankful for this interview. I never had the time to just let it out. I should say release the pressure.
Asked Governor J.B. Pritzker about this lawsuit. He pointed to the fact that these allegations were brought forth when the previous administration was in charge. The lawyers who brought this case forward, they say this is...
Have you been noticing that same fucking point of the story that they don't really pay attention to? It was the previous administration. The previous administration allowed this abuse to go on. How? If it's still going on. But you probably don't know about it. Just saying, man. All right. Are you ready for it? And another state.
This video delves into the burgeoning sex abuse lawsuits targeting the Maryland juvenile detention system. We have all learned so much about sex abuse in Maryland in the last few years. The one big thing no one was tuned into was the harrowing pattern of sexual abuse within the Department of Juvenile Services facilities, both
like I'm trying to
staff
tell y'all,
members and fellow inmates. The authorities mostly did nothing or compounded the problem. In a landmark move, Maryland now has a law enabling survivors of sex abuse to bring claims that the statute of limitations would have previously barred. The Maryland Child Victims Act, which took effect in October 2023, eradicated the statute of limitations on civil lawsuits based on sex abuse suffered in childhood. So our lawyers are focusing on the atrocities that occurred in these juvenile detention centers and seeking justice and compensation from the Department of Juvenile Services and the state at large. Sex abuse lawsuits assert that the Maryland Department of Juvenile Services, among other entities, is accountable for negligence in safeguarding young people from sexual harm. To establish a case, plaintiffs need only to demonstrate that these facilities failed in their duty to protect inmates from predatory staff and fellow detainees. It's amazing to our attorneys how many people are coming forward to us with claims of sexual abuse experienced in juvenile settings. We are seeing a lot of cases from the Hickey School, Cheltenham, and Waxter, but we're also seeing them from some of the other smaller juvenile facilities.
There was one in the next town over in Alabama.
The state doesn't want to drag this litigation out. Conversations are already underway about the potential for these lawsuits to reach settlements in 2024.
Too late.
Everyone knows now about the systemic failures that allowed abuses to persist unchallenged.
It's in Maryland.
The state of Maryland.
That's a fucking lawyer commercial. Okay, where are we at? Did we do? We did. I think we did Wayne County, but if we didn't, this looks like a different story from the Wayne County Detention Center.
She's very upset. She says, "Mom, get me out of here."
The fallout continues after
Michigan.
the release of a state report
Yeah, we already
on
had Detroit.
allegations of the assault and rape of a 12-year-old boy inside the Wayne County Juvenile Detention Center.
This is horrible.
The woman's child was sent to the center for disciplinary reasons and for ditching school. The mom does not want to be
Truancy's a
identified
fucking joke.
to protect her daughter's identity, but she says her child became a victim also.
The other kids, that's where the sexual assault and physical assault come from.
This mom says the allegations of the 12-year-old boy who alleged he was punched and raped by other youth in the facility during multiple incidents in March of 2023 are close to what her child has also experienced.
One instance, when she comes out the shower, she's groped in all parts of her body.
By who?
I said, "Where's the staff?" She says, "They're standing right there."
The mom says staff members are in a monitoring room instead of being out in the open.
So they're over there monitoring, but the assault is happening over here.
When the center staff intervenes, the mom maintains it's often too physical and overbearing.
If I would have hit her, it's a whole different thing. CPS will be involved expeditiously, but 5 people can hold her down.
How does this make you feel?
Horrible. I'm absolutely mortified. Like I said, I've notified everybody I could.
This mom says she has complained to the judge and the lawyer assigned to her child's case. It took some time, but her child is now at a different center.
Been transferred to a different facility.
In the same state.
And that's the judge's court order.
State officials tell Fox 2 that investigations have taken place in recent months and various violations have been identified. And Wayne County officials say changes are underway. But this mom's fight is not over, and she says she is looking for an attorney to get justice for her child.
When I heard this story, I felt compelled to speak up. Because I want that little boy to know. I want that young man to know he is not alone. I believe
Is he still in there?
Same way I believe my
he got transferred.
In Detroit, Ingrid Kelly, Fox 2 News.
Sticking with you, Jacoby, let's turn to...
Back to Illinois. But you see the pattern? They turned a blind eye when it's not detention. It's other detainees. Wow, I said detainees. That's kind of weird. And then they're watching it. I wonder if they're recording it. What happens to these guards that obviously don't pay attention to it? Because you heard they break them up sometimes. Oh, fuck me, dude. They're doing some crime. They did the crime. They're doing some time. And, bro, 8 to 10 to 12-year-olds just fucking trains ran on them. Come on, man.
A tragic story that it really just seems to be getting worse. Hundreds more have joined a lawsuit saying that they were abused at juvenile detention centers across the state. What are the allegations here?
Man, a lot of these allegations are very similar to one another, and I want to give people the time to, if they need to, step away, to turn down, turn off, or move away. But hundreds are alleging a systemic pattern of abuse in which, at the hands of so many different staff members, whether we're talking correctional officers, whether we're talking nurse, whether we're talking kitchen staff, subjected young boys and young girls and young people to sexual and physical abuse, to rape, to isolation and physical and mental abuse as a way to cover up these crimes. And when I listen to the reports, so much of them use the word new, and they use it as a modifier to talk about like sort of new people coming forward and new lawsuits and new allegations. But this is decades. It feels like the wrong word. Yeah. It's decades for many of these people. And interestingly enough, I was in a Uber, or I was in the car on my way home last night, and on 92.3, there was a commercial that asked people to come forward.
Yeah, I've heard it too.
If they had similar stories.
That bad of a problem, huh?
While these lawsuits and these allegations may be new, this is a culture that we have largely allowed to go sort of unchecked. In the adult carceral system, sexual abuse for most of my life has been looked at as a trope and a joke in sort of pop culture. And so to think that the youth carceral system would be any different and that they are not more vulnerable. When I got here earlier, Mitch mentioned that back in high school, we competed in high school speech together.
Yeah.
Which reminded me that when I was a sophomore in college speech, I wrote this speech about these types of allegations and this type of abuse and how rampant they are across the country. And so to hear it, I'm not shocked. I'm, of course, horrified and, you know, extremely, like, frustrated and saddened by it. But, like, this is what the inside of our carceral institutions
this is what's happening.
Look like. This is what's being allowed to go forth because we've deemed that people as young as 11 are disposable.
Those commercials you referenced, I mean, I remember hearing it for the first time driving in my car as well, and it was very jarring to hear it between, you know, music
What the hell are you
and you're hearing
doing?
these like very serious commercials of asking folks to call and, you know, come forward if, you know, in these years, 1980 this or 1990 that, if you were abused, come forward, reach out, we can help.
And shutting down facilities or instituting new policies or firing heads of departments and replacing them. Like, there is no way to just address these systems through these fraudulent attempts at reform, because even now, as people may receive some type of monetary restitution and they'll have their story heard, like, people will go to sleep tonight in these facilities afraid that the exact same thing will happen to them, unchecked, unheard, in facilities that.
I mean, why do we have to wait to fix the system when we have all these people coming forward? Shouldn't you fix a problem immediately? Retraining, background checks again, you know, your analysis. Your state employee, right? They can take your analysis at any point. They need to start charging these motherfuckers and not, we're just gonna let them get out on bail. No, motherfucker, let them sit in the cell just like the other guys. You know, awaiting trial 60 days in. Fuck those dudes.
66 people are suing several Pennsylvania juvenile detention centers for abuse they say they experienced as children there. This includes the Loysville Youth Development Center and South Mountain Secure Treatment Unit in the Midstate, which are under the PA Department of Human Services. Multiple plaintiffs describe sexual abuse in their allegations, as well as physical abuse at the hands of guards, nurses, and supervisors. This is a part of 4 related lawsuits.
New tonight at 6, an LA County probation officer under arrest accused of serious.
Pennsylvania to wait. This is another state? Can't be. These are all isolated incidents around the country. These never happen, right? Fuck out of here.
Crimes at a juvenile detention facility. Good evening. You're watching KCAL News at 6 on CBS Los Angeles. I'm Susie Sa, in tonight for Pat Harvey. KCAL assignment editor Mike Rogers is live at the desk. Mike, the probation department has struggled for the past several years, and now you have details of this latest incident.
Yeah, you know, Susie, Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall has been the kind of primary issue they've been dealing with. This is actually at a different facility in Commerce. We actually had SkyCal just fly over the facility not too long ago so we could show you what was going on. This is the facility, the Dorothy Kirby Center. That is in Commerce. Now, the LA County Probation Department says that a newly formed Juvenile Safety and Wellness Task Force recovered a phone from a juvenile at the facility here. And when they went through that phone, they discovered a relationship between a female probation officer and a male juvenile that was being housed at this center here. Now, that employee was ultimately arrested with arranging a meeting with a minor for lewd purposes, sex with an inmate, unauthorized possession of a wireless device. And here's the worst part. This employee is also accused of bringing in contraband into the jail. Now, that contraband was a prescription pill container with different types of pills, varying in quantities inside of it. It was found inside of her personal bag. As we have reported over and over again, one of the biggest problems that the probation department is having is the contraband making it into the jail system, the juvenile detention center system, which is actually part of the reason why this task force was just newly created to help find incidents like this. And unfortunately, tonight the probation department is looking at one of their own involved in all this. Now, it's important to note I have asked the probation department for this person's name. They refused to give it, citing personnel reasons. I have also asked if they arrested and charged this person themselves or if another agency was involved, and so far they have not answered that question, Susie.
This video.
Delaware County, Pennsylvania. This better not be a fucking lawyer one again. Give me a second, guys. I hate these fucking lawyer ones. Yeah, that's a fucking lawyer. All right. Oh, you know, since we're on the topic of other states, why not give another one?
No, we believe that problem of sexual abuse is widespread across OYA.
3 new lawsuits filed this week alone allege sexual abuse at 2 Oregon youth detention centers. 3 similar lawsuits were filed earlier this year for a total of 6 lawsuits against the Oregon Youth Authority. The lawsuits name at least 16 different defendants. They claim 3 former OYA employees were perpetrating the abuse, but claim their managers should have prevented it. K2's Christina Giardini reports.
6 lawsuits, 3 filed this week alone, allege 3 former Youth Authority employees sexually abused 6 victims. The lawsuits allege that they groomed them, bringing them gifts, including smuggling drugs into the detention facilities before sexually abusing them. 2 youth correctional facilities in Oregon, McLaren housing juvenile males in Woodburn and Oak Creek housing juvenile females in Albany, are the subjects of multiple lawsuits alleging sexual abuse.
Sexual contact between youth and staff is sexual abuse, full stop.
And it's pedophilic.
No matter the age of the youth, no matter the gender of the youth.
Nora Van Dusen works for the law firm that filed all 6 cases. She believes they point to a bigger problem.
In each of those cases, there were other staff that were aware of the abuse and did not.
They're just as guilty
to prevent it from occurring.
One of the lawsuits filed this week claims Travis Kraft, a former employee at Oak Creek, made a 20-year-old woman perform oral sex on him after grooming her with gifts. The other 2 lawsuits claim Sherry McDougal groomed and sexually abused a 15-year-old and a 21-year-old juvenile male at McLaren. The Oregon Youth Authority confirmed that those 2 employees, as well as Emily Etchenkamp, who is named in a previous lawsuit filed by Van Dusen's firm, were all placed on leave, investigated, and then resigned.
Good. Should have fired them.
Managers who are still employed, claiming they should have done more to prevent the abuse.
This case is about protecting the basic right of youth at state facilities to be free from abuse of all kinds. And it is about holding the Oregon Youth Authority and these individual plaintiffs to account for failing to protect the youth that they are charged with caring for and protecting.
The Oregon Youth Authority says positive results from recent Prison Rape Elimination Act audits show that sexual abuse is not tolerated amongst the agency. The agency said in a written statement.
Not tolerated, yet it's happening. Okay, I already did this one. And here we go with another one. This is at Green Hill. I believe Green Hill was the one in Washington, D.C. Not Washington, D.C. Washington State. Yes, this is the Green Hill one. Green Hill is the reason I started watching all this stuff, because I caught this video. Not necessarily this video. It's a different video, but yeah, this is where the idea came through to check state by state.
Update now to a story the King 5 investigators broke earlier this month. Criminal charges have been filed now against a former guard at the Green Hill School accused of coercing an inmate to videotape their sex acts. Chris Ingalls is here with the new developments in the story that we first reported, Chris.
Well, Joyce, as you know, we've reported on Green Hill for years, and this is more evidence of how out of control things are at the state's maximum security lockup for young male offenders. Today, Chehalis police are calling out the state agency that runs that school, not only for the case they've charged today.
He is a chomo, and he forced another person to record it for him. Sounds like a guy that should be in prison. In prison. And I have problems with the youth getting, sexually assaulted, molested by adults, because adults should know fucking better. But when the adults go to jail, I don't give a fuck what happens to them. I want their fucking assholes to be able to run the fucking train, a big locomotive through it. Let them learn a fucking lesson.
But also the growing number of sexual misconduct cases by Green Hill staff.
State of Washington versus Michelle Goodman, 24-1-670-21. She's present in custody.
Former Green Hill security guard Michelle Goodman appeared in Lewis County Superior Court late this afternoon. Court documents accuse her of custodial sexual misconduct for videotaped sex acts with a 23-year-old inmate at the institution.
Never mind.
Police in Chehalis, where Green Hill is located, launched an investigation October 2nd after King 5 reported on this lawsuit filed against the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, DCYF.
What the fuck is a 24-year-old doing?
The suit showed screenshots from the inmate's cell phone and claimed that Goodman encouraged the young man to videotape their sexual encounters. Months before that suit was filed, Goodman was already in the Lewis County Jail on unrelated criminal charges. She was charged with prison riot for allegedly looking the other way when an inmate beat up a gang rival in a housing unit. Now she also faces the sexual misconduct charge and was arrested again last night.
There is a culture, from my understanding, of Green Hill School just sweeping things underneath the rug.
Tacoma attorney Patrick Brown filed the sexual misconduct lawsuit earlier this month. According to charging documents, Brown provided Chehalis police with 10 photographs, screenshots of at least 3 different videotaped sexual encounters with Brown's client. Police also reviewed Green Hill security video showing Goodman going into the staff locker room with the inmate where the sex allegedly occurred.
Staff know that nothing's going to happen, and so they just kind of capitalize on that. And they know that there's not going to be any type of
So what happens if another staff member came in?
Do what they want to do. And so there's this culture at Green Hill School to where sexual abuse is tolerated and allowed.
Days after our October 2nd story about the Goodman lawsuit, DCYF announced in a transition update the Green Hill superintendent is stepping down. And King 5 reported yesterday that Ross Hunter, the embattled secretary of DCYF, revealed that he would be leaving his post soon. So in this press release today, Chehalis police took the unusual step of pointing out that 184 criminal incidents at Green Hill have been reported to police this year. That's on pace to triple last year's number. Think about that.
Shit.
As we reported 2 months ago, sexual abuse tort claims, the precursors to lawsuits, also reached an all-time high. Taxpayers have already footed $4.4 million to settle some of those cases. But Joyce, there's a lot more in the pipeline, and that's the concerning thing. The taxpayers will likely be on the hook for cases like the one we saw today and a lot of others.
And you're talking about almost 200 cases here.
Yeah.
And probably more to come. Why is this just happening now?
Yeah, there's a complex answer to that. It's not simple. Overcrowding, understaffing, changes in Washington law that allow men to the age of 25 to...
I mean, why wait till now? At least it happened, right? Some of these kids might have been in fear.
Be housed at Green Hill instead of going to adult prison. Those are part of the problem, but we've also heard a lot of criticism about how Green Hill's being managed, and it seems like a lot of the stories we've been reporting on for years have only gotten worse at that facility.
More stories to come for sure.
Yeah,
because
for
I'm
sure.
going to hear about more cases. Chris,
for sure.
thanks.
Sure.
Lawsuit brutality in Lakewood. Where's Lakewood? Florida, I believe. No, this is Denver. Another state. For fuck's sake. Isolated guy. Isolated at 1 or 2 prisons in one state.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Jessica Porter.
I'm Shannon Ogden. Glad you're with us tonight. We're going to begin with explosive accusations from a former inmate at a Lakewood Youth Detention Center. He says 3 employees at the Mountain View Youth Services Center abused their power and covered up a physical altercation 2 years ago.
Chief investigative reporter Tony Kovaleski joining us now. So, Tony, you talked with the former inmate and one employee named in this legal filing.
Yeah, good evening, Jessica and Shannon. Clearly interesting conversations. Here's what we learned. Clearly, 2 distinctly different perspectives on what happened inside that facility on a January day back in 2022. What's the message to the leadership of this detention center?
They should be ashamed of themselves.
Frankie Ray Childs spent 14 months inside this youth detention center in Lakewood.
I don't want nobody to experience what I experienced. I'll be having nightmares and stuff about this situation.
Childs was at the facility for his role in an aggravated robbery as a minor.
Oh.
He's accusing 2 guards and an administrator at that detention facility of wrongdoing, including a physical assault and a cover-up after the incident.
He pushed me, he threw me into the wall. Then he grabbed me by my neck with 2 hands, lifted me to the ceiling. And then he slammed me and put his knee into my chest while he was still choking me.
On the phone earlier today, one of the 2 guards named in the lawsuit tells a different story, saying, quote, "I'll take to my grave we did nothing wrong. We did everything by the book that day." Adding, when dealing with a conflict and the altercation, we did exactly as we were trained by our training officers.
Turn your heads.
A perspective different than what is detailed in this 17-page complaint.
This is really about the abuse of power. This is about a youth facility which is supposed to be helping rehabilitate youth, giving them role models, helping them build skills for a better future. And instead, what we see is brutality.
Now, because of the location of the altercation between Childs and the detention center employee, none of the alleged assault was caught on camera. We also reached out to the state for response to the legal action.
Of course it wasn't. They know
we're told
better.
The Colorado Department of Human Services refrains from commenting on pending litigation. We can, however, affirm that our utmost focus and commitment is on ensuring the well-being and safety of our youth under our care. Any concerns that conflict with this commitment are thoroughly investigated internally and by the County Department of Human Services and/or local law enforcement. Now, Frankie Ray Childs has completed his time at that youth detention center, and he is now working at a job in Kansas. Shannon?
Tony Kovaleski.
Oh, he moved to Kansas. Wait. Yeah. Okay. Finally, we're getting to another. Oh, this is a different state. Oh, for fuck's sake!
All new right now on the WHAS 1119, the U.S. Department of Justice is now investigating Kentucky's Department of Juvenile Justice. This announcement follows a lawsuit against the Adair County, Kentucky Youth Detention Center filed earlier this year by 2 women who claimed their children were abused and neglected inside that facility. WHAS 1119's Alex Dieterer and photojournalist Elijah McKenzie found that state leaders are not surprised by the investigation.
The DOJ is stepping in to investigate
Why don't they audit
allegations
it
of civil
then?
rights violations at Kentucky's youth detention centers. One case that made news in Louisville involved the detention center in Linden. In 2022, a riot at the Adair County Juvenile Detention Center may have been related to a fire that broke out at the Linden Center. A few days before the riot, some juveniles were transferred to Adair County from that Linden Center. U.S. Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark announced the investigation Wednesday in a video, saying the DOJ will review whether or not there are unconstitutional conditions in Kentucky facilities,
including use of unreasonable physical and chemical force by staff, inappropriate use of isolation, failure to protect children from physical and sexual abuse, and adequate mental health care.
These facilities are using isolation, solitary confinement for children about 200 times per month. Their education is overly relying on computers and worksheets. Medicine has been withheld as a punitive measure.
Given the alleged conditions at the centers, the investigation wasn't a surprise to ACLU Kentucky legal fellow Kevin Lynch.
Issues with
I didn't
Kentucky's
know he was
juvenile justice
ACLU.
system have been going on for years.
Kentucky State Representative Kevin Bratcher of Louisville also reacting to the announcement. He sponsored a 2023 state law putting money into the system for improvements.
There's a lot of practices and culture in the DJJ system that needs to be changed. And we have been telling them in the legislature for years.
But you gave them more money.
The investigation is focusing on detention centers in Kentucky that are mainly holding children who are awaiting a court hearing.
What I've seen in the past, they come in and pretty much overturn everything and dig from the bottom up. So that's what they need to do.
The DOJ's investigation will also examine whether the state provides the required services to children with disabilities. In Louisville, Alex Dieterer with photojournalist Elijah.
Of course, I didn't realize, kids with disabilities commit juvenile crimes unless they're counting autism. Although I don't think that's...
An update to a series of troubleshooter
right.
investigations that we have stayed on top of. A juvenile detention center corrections officer on the run since last week has been captured.
Is this another state? Would have expected this from Ohio, though.
His name is Neil Moorman. He's been on the run since the 21st. That's when he was supposed to show up for his arraignment, but he never did. This is his mugshot from the Hamilton County Jail. That's in Cincinnati. He was booked just before noon today. The 30-year-old is facing 2 felony counts of sexual abuse. This is in relation to the claims that he was having sexual relationships with teen girls being held at the Campbell County Juvenile Detention Center. Moorman has been the subject of numerous troubleshooter investigations this year. The focus of our digging has not only been his alleged actions, but also how the state failed to report it to police for weeks. We've also taken a look at how Kentucky State Police handled the investigation and why it took so long to make an arrest. Moorman had worked at the facility just a few months before employees spoke up about suspicious behavior.
Wait, what?
He was later fired. Coming up at 6, I'll have more details on his arrest and what the indictment says he did. Natalia Martinez, Wave News.
All right, thank you, Natalia. A whistleblower may be the key to a lawsuit that alleges inmate abuse at a juvenile detention center in Lakewood.
Fox 31 Problem Solvers investigative reporter Rob Lowe spoke with the young man who filed the suit
and
joins us with the story.
Rob Lowe.
Frankie Ray Childs is a 20-year-old black man who was serving time as the getaway driver for a robbery. He says a white staff member choked him and body slammed him while another white guard blocked the cameras by standing at the door. And a black detention guard said, yeah, that's what happened.
He slammed me. He didn't throw me. He slammed me. He kept his hands never left my neck. He slammed me and then put his knee all on my chest. Well, I'm telling him, I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Frankie Ray Childs was serving time at Mountain View Youth Services Center 2 years ago when he says a verbal dispute with a program manager suddenly turned violent in his bedroom.
I knew in my mind that it was finna get crazy when he told everybody else to leave, and they actually left.
He says a white program manager stood by the inside of the door blocking outside cameras, and then, says another white program manager, literally picked him off the ground.
It was 2 hands. He grabbed me 2 hands. He's choking me, strangling me.
You know the difference between this story and the one that played like 3-4 minutes ago? White officers.
To the top, my head's touching the ceiling, literally. Feet dangling.
Afterward, Childs says he wasn't allowed to call his attorney, only reached her the next day by secretly using a phone. His attorney called the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, who told the Problem Solvers it had no video evidence, conflicting witness statements, and no evidence of physical abuse. So, no arrests.
My nose has been crooked ever since.
This case is really about the abuse of power.
Civil rights attorney Mari Newman admits she might not have had a case except for a document she obtained that shows a black detention guard reported the alleged abuse to Mountain View's director the next day.
If Jamil Robinson had not spoken up and confirmed exactly what had happened, I don't think that anybody ever would have taken Frankie seriously.
Here's the incident report. Director Taylor Lemieux was approached by Jamil Robinson. Jay Robinson stated to me that he saw Michael Robinson pick up Frankie by his throat and slam him to the ground. I asked where this took place, as I had already reviewed video footage and could not see the alleged action taken by Michael Robinson. Jamil Robinson stated that it was in Child's sleeping room. Video footage does not show into Youth's sleeping room.
And he told me, like, he went home and he thought about it. He slept over it, talked about it with his wife, and he doesn't want to see nothing like that happen to any other black youth. He has a black son coming up.
Both Childs and his attorney believe that race was a factor in this case. The Colorado Department of Human Services, which oversees Mountain View, says it doesn't comment on pending litigation. But
man, it's race, huh? Always race. Get the fuck out of here with that. How many states did you just go over it that were isolated incidents? And by isolated incidents, at least 26 up to 600 per whatever, from the states we showed. Not fucking isolated. With the abuse going on shit since 1996. And some more recent. As like a week and a half, 2 weeks. Positions of power automatically should be fired and put in jail. No bail. Because you're in that position of trust. And you break that trust. You break your oath. If they take an oath. Jeff, do they take oaths? Curious. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and children of all ages, I hope you enjoyed the presentation of today, which I kind of feel informed, knowing that all these states really just turned a blind eye until numerous lawsuits show up. Incidents in the prisons not being told, even though they've been reported, and no big deal. And then race. Rob Lowe, is it really due to race? Or did you just add that spicy part in? Anyway. Fuck those people. Fuck them all in the ass. Repeatedly. Anyway, I'm not telling y'all how to think. I'm just telling y'all to think. And welcome back to your regularly scheduled program. And I shall see you...